Alright, so first of all, I'm clearly trying out a bit of a different camera angle this time in preparation for hopefully getting some better lighting in this room relatively soon, since it does look like this is going to be my more or less permanent studio. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I've been making videos in this room for quite a while now. Let me know what you think of it versus my other setup in the comments down below. But, ignoring that for the time being, let's talk about this episode of Teen Titans. Finally getting back to Teen Titans reviews. With the episode which I believe is called Date with Destiny. I'll have to double check that and hope that I didn't just make a fool of myself, because I'm not re-recording this. This episode uses the goofy Japanese version of the theme song, which means it must be a comedy episode, and sure enough, after watching it, that's definitely what it was. The premise of the episode is that villain Killer Moth is getting ready to unleash his swarm of mutant moth monsters on the city so he can take the city ransom. These creatures are able to chew through a suspension bridge support cable in seconds. They could reduce the city to rubble in hours. He was initially just going to demand that he be made ruler of the city and that the Teen Titans stand down and don't oppose him, but his daughter had other things in mind. It turns out that she and her boyfriend broke up just before the junior prom, and so she forces her father to add the stipulation that Robin must go to the prom with her to make her boyfriend jealous. Surely this is the epic of our time. So yeah, that's what the episode boils down to. While Raven, Cyborg, and Beast Boy go after Killer Moth himself, Robin goes to the prom with this blonde brat, and Starfire tags along because she's too jealous to let Robin out of her sight when this girl's around. It's goofy, it's dumb, it's ridiculous, but I love it. And that's a really weird thing to say, because I usually don't like plots like this at all. I usually don't like will they won't they romances like Robin and Starfire's romance to begin with, but I've always liked their romance in the show. It feels very natural for people who work together, are friends, but also have feelings for each other. Like they're taking it very slow, feeling things out in regards to their feelings. And I also don't usually like a comedy that relies on one character being jealous of another character for reasons that don't really make sense to begin with, but Starfire's jealousy in this episode is completely harmless. They even get to dance at the prom at the end, even if we don't actually see it happen. And her over-the-top reactions in this episode make for some of the best physical comedy in this series overall. Like, honestly, this episode would be really boring and would kinda suck if not for Starfire's over-the-top jealous reactions and Robin's fantastic sarcastic backsassery towards Kitten.
And would it kill you to smile?
Maybe.
I honestly love every single second of it, and it proves that these two characters work as a great, not only romantic pair, but comedy duo, too. And Kitten, for as bratty as she is, she's actually an enjoyable character. She's an enjoyably bratty character. And surprisingly, a little bit of a badass, too. Like, her dad is kind of a non-threat. His minions are more of a threat than he is. Like, he's a villain who could be defeated by a giant bug zapper. He's not very scary. Kitten ends up being the real villain in this episode, and she actually works fairly well in this context of a comedy episode. Not only that, but seeing the big, burly, powerful, and not at all human-looking Killer Moth sitting in a pink, pretty princess bedroom, heeding to the demands of this tiny blonde teeny bopper, is pretty objectively hilarious. The only thing that I don't find enjoyable about this episode is this thing here. This is Kitten's ex-boyfriend, or I guess on and off again boyfriend, Fang, and he is absolutely horrifying, and not in the fun Halloween-y kind of way. He's genuinely existentially terrifying to me. This thing haunts my nightmares to this day, simply from having seen him in this episode as a tiny AJ, or a less large AJ. Anyway, like, I know he's supposed to be some sort of spider mutant. The villain characters in this episode are supposed to be some kind of mutants, but looking at this guy, I just can't help but see him as a giant spider eating the head of a Caucasian male human, somewhat like myself. Ugh. I hate him so much. It is so satisfying at the end of this episode after he and Robin have their fight and Robin knocks him the hell out. Mwah. 10 out of 10. Best part of the episode. By far. Overall, though, I like this episode. It's the first time in the series that the comedy really hits on point for me every single time. I do think that this is genuinely the funniest comedy predominant episode that we've gotten in the series up to this point. And I'm trying to think of one that I like better later on, and I really can't. Maybe I'll change my mind as I'm going back through these episodes and rewatching them. I don't really know. I just know that I like this episode for the light-hearted, over-the-top, cartoony, comic affair that it is. As per usual, though, guys, I'd like to know, what do you think of Date with Destiny? If you have seen it, let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.